Traveling down the highway, my fingertips are to the wheel. Every landscape mirrors how I feel. I've got wide open valleys and high walls of stone. Sometimes I can see forever down this beautiful road. The wind whistles through my window, endless as time. The wheels turn in.
We are at the place where I live on Wenham Pond, on the island of Martha's Vineyard. I was raised up in North Carolina, and I do identify as a Southerner and a North Carolinian, definitely. I'm very, very proud of that. However, I feel also that I'm a New Englander. Our mother's from the North Shore outside of Boston. She grew up in Newburyport. And so we would come up here every summer. And I really do feel quite at home in New England. I was about 1.5 or 2 years old when we moved to Chapel Hill, North Carolina. We lived out in the county. My first memories are from the farmyard there. We moved to Chapel Hill because my father, who had gone to undergraduate school there and had been raised up in North Carolina, he got a job with the medical school down there at UNC. I have our oldest brother, Alex, and then came James, and then there's me in the birth order, and then our brother Livingston, and then brother Hugh. We first came to Martha's Vineyard probably 1952. My mother wanted to come up to New England in the summertime. It was mighty hot in North Carolina, and she missed home. So we'd come up, and we spent some time in Maine one summer, and we'd go visit her parents in Newburyport. One year, we made some family friends. We all decided that we'd go to the vineyard. We rented a place in Chilmark, and then we moved up that same summer to a place that was about an eighth of a mile from the Gayhead Lighthouse. And we lived in that house for a couple of summers, and then rented in Chilmark again on Stonewall Beach, where my mom lives now. From that time on, we came to the vineyard every summer. I think it was the place where we all felt the most carefree. So when we all got out of high school and were kind of moving out of the house and moving on to the next phase of life, every one of us ended up on the vineyard, including my parents. They separated and eventually divorced, but both my mom and my dad moved to houses on the vineyard, although my dad also had a place in Boston. This is really home base. I would think everybody probably considers the vineyard home base. I was on tour one summer. I got home for a little bit, and then I just realized that I really needed more time. I didn't want to leave the island, and so I settled in. That was about 1969. And then I walked into my friend's teepee, going through the door flap and sitting down by the fire in this round room, surrounded by soft pillows and rugs and the gentle breeze. I said, man, this is it. I got to have one of these. That started a whole new phase of my life. I got some canvas and got the book on how you make a teepee and stitched one up. Ended up living in that teepee for 6 summers. And this is Charlie and me in the teepee. This was from the first summer that we had the teepee up there. Elizabeth was born, and I think the next few summers we lived in the teepee, and that was great. It's idyllic, it's so sweet, and it was really kind of a luxury. The island was a very fertile ground, always has been, for music. Even back before the 60s, there were people playing music. Thomas Hart Benton lived here, and he had a bunch of friends, and they were jamming all the time. There was always some music scene. In the 60s, when we were kids and growing up, there was Well, we were singing a lot of songs at the community center in Chilmark. There was a couple of coffee houses on the Vineyard. One of them was called the Mooncusser. The Mooncusser was down on Circuit Avenue in Oak Bluffs. We had amazing acts that came in. Jim Kweskin's Jug Band and Josh White, John Lee Hooker. We had that was where James did some of his first gigs with Danny Korchmar. And Carly played there with the Simon Sisters. The Staple Singers. Down at where the Oyster Bar is now, there was a place called the Unicorn Coffee House, and they had another unicorn that they ran up in Boston, and James and Danny won a contest at this unicorn, and they got a deal to go and have a gig at the Boston Unicorn and to make a demo. So they did that, and so that was kind of really the beginning for James and for Danny of what turned into lifelong careers. And in the 70s, there were some bigger events that got thrown. A concert that was put together by some people who wanted to protest nuclear power plants, and so it was a big show. Alex sang at that, and Carly and I, and John Hall. And, it was a big event over there on the Allen farm. New kind of scene of music, more players, that were living on the island. This music scene, is really strong here to this day. I've been talking on stage about the teepee life and some of the stories and some of the dreams, and I really wanted to show the guys that I've been working with recently the teepee. I invited Sam and Billy to come down and bring some acoustic instruments, have a meal, and do some playing, and welcome them into that place so that they could get some kind of an idea of what it was like.
So we'll have a fire?
Yeah, we'll have a fire, we'll have a meal. Welcome home.
Oh, yeah, great to be here.
All right. Well, I ain't no Philly baby. Ready to rock? Mm-hmm. I'm just a winning 'cause I like your smell. And if we never spend the night together again, you know I'll love you just as well. The fog rolled in at sundown. We lit a fire so that we could see. When the sun swept away those cobwebs, we were surrounded by the sea. You know the tide comes in and the tide goes out, and it bounces you just like a baby.